What's up, squad? It's your Squid, aka the Anxious Squid here at Anxious Squid Productions. This video is the third video in a 5-part series on There Will Never Be Another Driver Like Dale Earnhardt. So if you haven't watched the first two, this one's probably not going to make a whole lot of sense, so go and check those ones out. If you're watching this in a binge, I hope you're enjoying. What happened at the end of this video was somebody walked through the cut-through, at the end of the last video, sorry, somebody walked through the cut-through, like, alley in between our building and someone else's, and we're on the ground floor, and I'm on, like, right in the middle. No one ever walks past that window, and just as I was signing off, somebody walked past. And the video before that, while I was recording, my dog was barking at nothingness. And so I was like, alright, this is all a bit creepy, you know? But the creep factor is back down to 0. Let's get back into this, shall we? Thanks for tuning back in, guys. As I said in the last video, this will probably be the last video that I do on NASCAR for a little while, this series. There's 2 more to go after this video. But yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. Hit that like button, leave me a comment and all that if you do. If you've just stumbled across the channel and these NASCAR videos are the first ones you've seen of mine, have a poke around the channel. I have a whole bunch of different playlists. Decide if you like me before you hit that subscribe button. I'd hate for you to be surprised like tomorrow or the day after when I start uploading different videos and all that sort of stuff. But far out, shouldn't have smoked before recording these. Yeah, let's get back into it.
He waited for an opportunity and pushed forward. Task. He will never stop chasing it. When faced with the lowest moment of his career, Dale Earnhardt did what he always did. He waited for an opportunity and pushed forward.
That was an interesting little edit.
A brilliant maneuver by Earnhardt. The checkered flag belongs today to Dale Earnhardt.
Nice.
Stock car racing's all-time winner, Richard Petty.
When you need a mower, go with the best. Go with Lou.
You'll be a winner at Lowe's.
Nice.
Every weekend throughout America, there is great NASCAR racing.
Alright, look at the advertising.
I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Nice. Dale Earnhardt had a nice mustache. You can too with Dollar Shave Club. That's funny. This is his ad, obviously, you know what I mean. If you're into facial hair, don't check out Dollar Shave Club. Check out Milkman Grooming. There's a link in the description. Squid, code Squid will get you 15% off. You may as well. You got nothing to lose except, you know, bad facial hair, I guess. Get on with it, buddy. Come on. I'm gonna skip forward. Ah, shit. Ah, yeah, no, there we go. Cool.
Yes, the majority of the country is.
Alright.
Hey, we were watching that.
Join the club today and you'll see by 2019 won't be...
This is an interesting interestingly lengthy advert. Alright, let's get back into it.
On the 1984 Talladega 500, this man, Dale Earnhardt,
He's in the 3 now. Good
In
stuff.
1984, Dale Earnhardt found himself with a new owner, Richard Childress, and a new car number, 3. He would stick with both of them for the rest of his career.
Absolutely.
Under Childress, Earnhardt's career would immediately begin to rebound, and it would mark the beginning of his finest era. By 1986, Earnhardt would be champion.
Everything was
once
better in
more,
the 80s.
becoming just the
apparently.
11th driver
I
in
wasn't born
history to
yet.
win multiple NASCAR championships. In 1987, he had the best statistical season of his career, finishing the year with 11 wins and his 3rd Cup championship. And after this dominant season, Earnhardt would return in black, embracing his new role as the Intimidator. Now would probably be a good time to explain what exactly made Dale Earnhardt such a potent racer. Well, Dale Earnhardt first learned his racing style from watching his father slide around on dirt tracks, and he never really unlearned it. Remember earlier how I mentioned that the durability of stock cars allows them to more easily bump into each other? Well, Dale Earnhardt would take this idea and turn his vehicle into a weapon. Earnhardt would make frequent use of the bump and run, a racing tactic where a driver uses the inertia of their own car to move other drivers out of the way and advance their position. It's a maneuver that's practically unheard of in open-wheel racing because it's really only possible in a series like NASCAR. Even within NASCAR, the bump and run is still a highly controversial move. Racing purists consider it a dirty tactic, as it detracts from the skill of outlining your competitors. Other fans view it as a valid and necessary part of stock car racing, considering it's a viable strategy that's not against the rules.
Yeah.
Your outlook of this issue most likely determined whether or not you were a fan of Dale Earnhardt, as his frequent use of the bump and run quickly made him one of the most polarizing drivers in NASCAR, and his notoriety would only grow as he became one of the most dominant drivers in the sport. For many drivers, nothing was scarier
Get out of my way or I'll make you.
in your rearview mirror. If you saw the number 3 Chevy behind you, you would either get out of his way or he would make you get out of his way. For many years, Earnhardt was NASCAR's greatest heel.
It's not fair, and they try to race nice and clean. And
You know, the thing of it is, you go out and you run as hard as you can all day long, and then him trying to cut you out to outrun it, that ain't the way I was brought up racing.
I guess what they were insinuating, don't go run into Dale Earnhardt.
If you weren't an Earnhardt fan, it was probably very
Lots of
easy to
salty
hate him,
people by the sound of it.
There was a good chance you could recall a time
I
when
can
he
see
wrecked
the
your
Bush
favorite driver.
parallels now, though. The
Despite
Kyle
Earnhardt's
Bush
tendency to
parallels.
enforce his will upon other drivers on the track, he certainly had his fair share of supporters. Dale Earnhardt raced in real life how anybody races the first time they pick up a NASCAR video game. The other drivers were just obstacles separating him from first place. Many fans found Earnhardt's cavalier style endearing and relatable. He would struggle and claw for every single position, much like how many fans in the poor American South had to struggle for every paycheck. Who cares if he bangs up some other cars? He's just trying to win like the rest of them. An uneducated small-town hick with no other prospects, trying to turn lemons into lemonade. For anyone stuck in rural America, Earnhardt represented the way out. Standing outside of his car, Earnhardt was just like them. But as soon as he stepped inside that black number 3, he transformed into a racing god. A lot of Earnhardt's detractors pointed to his racing style as an unfair crutch, but eventually, for anyone watching long enough, his talent was undisputable.
And Earnhardt loses it.
Hey, get back on.
And Earnhardt still got the lead. Incredible.
Although Dale Earnhardt remains one of the most memorable NASCAR
That's crazy,
drivers
that
to
is
this
right
day,
there.
he was never the most popular driver. That distinction belonged to Bill Elliott.
You know, the thing of it is, I have been not the aggressive driver all my life.
Wow, all right.
Give and take with the best of the things. But when a guy cuts you off that bad and that obvious, it's time to take the other cheek.
Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, Georgia, was in many ways a foil to Dale Earnhardt. He, too, came from a racing family and rose to prominence in the 80s as one of NASCAR's best. The soft-spoken and humble Elliott contrasted heavily with the outspoken and brash Earnhardt. Whereas Earnhardt would gain notoriety for his combative racing style, the name of Elliott's game was speed. Over the past decade in NASCAR, the overall speeds of the race cars had gradually risen, especially on the giant superspeedways of Daytona and Talladega. In 1984, Cale Yarborough became the first stock car driver in history to set a 200-mile-per-hour qualifying lap at Daytona. The very next lap, he would lose control and total his race car.
Oh, that was before roof flaps, evidently.
As the speeds crept upwards, the drivers crept ever closer to the edge of control.
Yeah, look how squished that roof is.
NASCAR's top speeds continue to climb. With each new superspeedway event, engineers and crews would roll out ever so faster cars. And from 1985 to 1987, no car was faster than Bill Elliott's red and white Ford Thunderbird. Perhaps his most stunning achievement came in the 1985 Winston 500, when Elliott cut an oil line and fell 2 laps behind the leaders, only to make up the entire deficit under green and win the race. His car was simply that much faster than the others.
In modern times, nobody has monopolized NASCAR racing like Bill Elliott. He has raced around this season faster than a person throwing double sixes.
2 years later at the same event, Bill Elliott would set NASCAR's all-time speed record, 212.8 miles per hour.
Jeez, that's fast. That's faster than fast. That's like...
The pole speed for the Indianapolis 500 that same year, the fastest open wheel race, was 2:15.
Yeah, that's fucking moving.
On average, a stock car weighs about twice as much as an Indy car. There's been a pretty big elephant in the room during this whole video. So far I've talked on and on about the history of NASCAR, but I've yet to explain why people actually like it. I mean, sure, it's
all of those things are why people like it.
Most exciting moments, But what about the other 99% of the time is just regular old-fashioned racing? What's the appeal of watching cars go around in circles? Well, long story short,
The appeal of watching cars go around in circles is the same appeal as watching horses go around in circles or marbles go down stand. People like competition. People like watching competition. People like watching competition where there are multifaceted aspects of said competition where somebody has to best somebody else. It's like, we've been doing it since the fucking... Anyway.
Don't watch NASCAR.
Like the Parthenon, anyway.
Watch other sports. You can pick up a football and start playing right now in your backyard. You can't just hop in a NASCAR and start racing people. In order to understand the appeal of NASCAR, we have to talk about soldiers, astronauts, and prestige. Being a soldier comes with a certain amount of prestige. Most people find their sacrifice admirable, but you don't have to search far to find people who disagree. You'd be hard-pressed, however, to find anyone who doubts the prestige of an astronaut. You can talk about intelligence and science degrees and technical skill all you want, but the fact of the matter is that soldiers fight against other soldiers in man-made wars, while astronauts fight against the surly bonds of nature itself. It takes bravery to volunteer yourself to go fight in some far-off foreign land.
Absolutely.
But it takes a whole nother level of bravery to strap yourself into a pressurized metal canister and fly out of the top of the sky. Astronauts have so much prestige because they come the closest to kissing the snarling jaws of certain death. There's no denying that war is also deadly, but humans have been fighting and killing each other since the dawn of man. It's easy to understand the nature of warfare. It's difficult to understand the limits of nature itself. And nothing is more terrifying than what we don't understand. Who am I kidding?
Right.
This is a dumb analogy. NASCAR drivers are nothing like astronauts. I mean, come on. Have you ever seen a NASCAR fly?
Yes. I mean, I understand he's being facetious, but like...
In the race immediately corresponding with Bill Elliott's record-breaking qualifying lap, Bobby Allison would blow a tire in the tri-oval. The back of his car would lift off the ground and sail into the catch fence at nearly 200 miles per hour.
Fuck me.
It turns out that if you spin a car sideways at a fast enough speed, the aerodynamics will force the car aloft like the wing of an airplane. In the 1987 Winston 500, the 210 mile per hour pace was enough to lift up Bobby Allison's 3,500-pound race car like a piece of paper. For a brief, surreal moment,
That is
NASCAR
savage.
stood still. By pure chance, Allison's left front fender clipped the wall the instant before the back of his car hit the catch fence, which redirected the momentum of his car away from the spectators.
That's lucky.
Had Allison spun at just a slightly different angle, we could have witnessed a tragedy on the scale of the 1955 Le Mans disaster, where an out-of-control race car was projected into the stands at a very high speed.
Whoa,
3 spectators
that's
were killed in the
unfortunate.
catastrophe, leading many European
That's
nations
super
to place a
unfortunate.
temporary ban on all motorsports. To this day, it remains
That's
the
like,
deadliest
I feel like
accident in
unfortunate
racing
is an
history.
understatement, you know? Like, that's...
Catastrophe. It's a tragedy on the scale of the 1955
Fucking hell.
Le Mans disaster, where an out-of-control race car was projected into the stands at a very high speed.
Cameraman's fucked.
83 spectators were killed in the catastrophe,
Jesus.
leading many European nations to place a temporary ban on all motorsports. To this
Yeah, that'll
day,
do it.
it remains the deadliest accident in racing history.
Alright.
Allison's car had sheared a 100-foot gap in the protective fencing, and NASCAR fans found themselves staring into an eerie window of what
Oh
could happen.
man, you'd shit yourself now.
Miraculously, only 5 spectators were injured, and no one was killed. The line
Jeez.
between driver and spectator had been severed, and it could have ended NASCAR entirely. Fortunately, NASCAR would make good use of their second chance, as the
Yeah,
era of
far
speed
out.
came to a permanent end.
That's cray-cray. We're going to pause that there though, because that's the end of the third video. It was just about to beep at me, but yeah, we're going to wrap it up here, so I'm going to stop the recording of that one as well. Bear with me. There we go. Yeah, so as I said at the start of the video, these guys are my patrons. They're awesome. You could be awesome too. Please consider helping me out, throwing me $1 a month or whatever you can afford and all that sort of stuff. You know, my if you don't know, my spiel about Patreon and how awesome I think Patreon is. I spend about $10 a month on 10 different artists. That's not totaling 100. That's giving $1 a month to 10 different artists. On Patreon, because it's, you know, it accumulates. If every single one of my subscribers gave me $1 a month via Patreon, I'd be a fucking rich man, you know what I mean? So yeah, do me a solid, become one of the ones in here, and yeah, I'm gonna get on with it and move on to part 4 and part 5. I feel like they might have to be a bit longer each of them though, because you know, we're only about halfway through the documentary at this point, but we'll see how we go. As I always say, you know what I mean? Don't judge me based off this video. Have a poke around the channel. If this is us just bumping into each other, I don't know why you watched the third in a 5-part series first, but have a poke around the channel. Decide if you like me, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 5,000 by the end of this year, 2020, and I can't do it without people like you who randomly stumble on my videos and hit the subscribe button. So yeah, I'm gonna get on with it now. I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you when I look at you. You'll see me when you look at me. Thanks for watching.